Ladies and gentlemen, this man needs no introduction. This is, of course, the professor of rock. Adam, welcome.
Oh, Rick, are you kidding me? On honor.
Tell people where we are right now.
We are in my executive producer's lair, his office, where he has every pop culture artifact from the 70s, 80s, 90s films that you can think of.
Like, what is this?
This is Darth Vader's actual helmet from Empire Strikes Back. This is Batman's cowl that Ben Affleck wore in Batman vs. Superman. Gizmo, the actual original Gizmo from Gremlins. We got a bunch of Harry Potter, the hoverboard signed by the cast members of Back to the Future. You got the mask from Point Blank. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You got T2 behind me. You got Alien, Predator, the clown from Poltergeist. Yeah, it's been a day.
We been hanging out all day. Now, you and I have known each other for a while.
Yeah.
I was on your channel.
I called that video my most requested video ever. People were like, can you and Rick Beato just do something together? I watch both your channels.
But talk about how we first met. I wrote to you on Instagram.
So we first met, speaking of movies, Life Preserver, Back to the Future. Boy, we're in a Life Preserver. You're a Life Preserver for me because last year I had one video I had like 12 copyright claims on.
Something I'm very familiar with.
Something you're very familiar with. And I look at my Instagram that night, very depressing day, because I worked so hard on this video, top 10 albums of 85, I think, and like a 40-minute video, and it was doing well, and then I get all these claims, and I think it got blocked, if memory serves. Anyway, I just had it and said, I'm done with this. I'm not doing these videos anymore. I'm going to have to, not do this series anymore, the top 10. And you reached out on Instagram. Look at my Instagram. I have a message from Rick, and Rick's like, hey, I've been through this. I'm happy to help. Give me a call. We talked on the phone for like an hour, and you helped me out with those claims. But not only that, we just geeked out on music, and it was a great time.
One of the things that you do, these list videos that I also do myself, we do very different kind of list videos.
Yeah.
You'll do a lot of song lists, and I do a lot of playing lists.
Yeah.
Like top 20 acoustic guitar intros or guitar solos and things like that. When you're making something like that, how do you decide what to put on a list?
Well, for me, like I did this series for about a year. Every weekend, I would do it on Saturday because Casey Cave's American Top 40, I remember listening to it on Saturday and writing down each chart position in my Trapper Keeper as a kid. And we all did this, I think, to a point where we would will our favorite songs to number one, like, oh, please. And you listen the next week to see if it went up the charts or down the charts. A lost art for sure. That used to be, we used to live by that.
Yes.
And I started doing these lists of the top 10 songs from a year. My criteria was it had to be a top 40 hit to be able to be in this top 10. Because you've got to put some kind of criteria there. I've got every Joel Whitburn book, the top 40 books, every one he's ever put out. Mm-hmm. And I would pull it out and I'd look at the year and I would look at every top 40, every song that hit the top 40 in 1985. I did every year from like 1957 because I got more copyright claims from the 50s than any other decade. And I'm thinking in my mind, do you not want people to know who Little Richard is?
Right.
Because if we don't keep Little Richard's name alive and Carl Perkins and some of these incredible pioneers of rock and roll, but I would get 15 claims from one 1950s video. So I couldn't do all the years in the 50s. But I went like 57 to 2000. And because the top 40 started to get a little rough after 2000, just my opinion. And it's tough to do. Because how do you decide what's number one versus...
That's right.
The toughest year for me was 1977.
Okay.
I had to choose between... I got to my top two and I had Carry On Wayward Son by Kansas and Hotel California by Eagles. And I went with Carry On Wayward Son as my number one.
Okay.
And I got a lot of people that were frustrated. A lot of people were really happy, excited. But Hotel California is classic. I love it. But for me, Carry On Wayward Son, that has the greatest opening vocal in history. And to me, it's a song that has no peer for that year. So I love it because the top 40 used to be so diverse. You'd have ABBA, you'd have Stevie Wonder, you'd have Skinnerd, all in the same top 10 in the same week. And so it was fun to go through those years, but to try to figure out, you know, when you're putting together a video, you also want to have rich storytelling too.
Yeah.
If you have a song that doesn't really have a great story behind it, so there's all this criteria that goes behind it. And yours is going to be completely different because you're looking at the musicality and that type of thing. And it's going through all the songs and figuring out the criteria of it being a top 40 hit, how much impact has it had on us today, and then, you know, all the different parts of it, the lyrics, the part of our culture, all those things come into my mind. The musical part of it, like Carry On Wayward Son, the reason I gave it over Hotel California was because of that intro, and but I'm sure if I did it the day after, it would have been totally different, right?
Well, that's the thing about the lists is like they can vary from day to day, or week to week, or month to month. Talk a little bit, you mentioned this earlier today, just when we were talking about how the charts differ nowadays and why they almost don't mean anything anymore. Why is that? For me, if you didn't put your hard-earned money down to buy the actual single, I mean, remember they had, how do you even say it, singles, right? Singles, yeah. Right? That's right. And then they had the 45s, and then they started having the CD singles. And these were based on sales, and people are actually going out, spending their hard-earned money on them. Yeah, and they were spending, I mean, if you think about it, even in like the late 80s and 90s when CDs became prevalent, you could spend $18. Oh my gosh, yeah. And minimum wage back when I was growing up was like $3.80. People don't realize how expensive CDs got in the 90s. But think about this, Rick. If you are making $3.80 as a high school student, yeah, it takes you 5 hours to earn enough money to buy a CD. That's right. So for us, where you have to put gas in your car as a teenager and you have to think about those things, because I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s in high school, that meant something. It was worth it. And I think that's one of the things I love about doing the videos on my channel is remembering those things, remembering what it was like to hear that song on the radio and hoping that, and being there to push play and record on your boombox and hoping that the DJ didn't speak over the top of it. Or the first time you heard a song and you didn't know who sang it and you hoped the DJ would tell you who sang the song after it was over so that you could buy it. You didn't have Shazam. That's right. If you were going to go... You could call the radio station. Sometimes I would do that. Right. And sometimes people would mess it up. What's that song? And it wasn't the title of the song. It was 2 songs ago by the time you get through. It was 3 songs ago. How did it go? I can't remember. What was it? What have you played recently? Totally. And then you have a song like How Soon Is Now by the Smiths. Well, they never say How Soon Is Now in the song. Right. So you can't say, it's a song, I'm human and I want to be loved. Oh, yeah. But, and also that feeling, I remember when Division Bell came out. 1994. For me, exactly. And I had bought Momentary Lapse of Reason as a kid. I mean, I was younger. And I remember, forking out my allowance to buy that and then waiting 7 years for a new Pink Floyd album. So when Division Bell came out, I remember sloughing school. I don't know, I think that's only a term they use in Idaho, but cutting class, sloughing school is what we call it. And going to the mall that was 30 minutes away, in the Music Land, and waiting for them to open the gate. I was there at 9 in the morning, 8:55 in the morning, open that gate. I bought the cassette and the CD so that I could listen to the cassette in the car because I didn't have a CD player. Right. And my little tape that went to the CD player didn't work. So I remember going and buying that senior in high school and listening to that and just melting. I didn't listen to the single when it came out. I wanted to hear the album from track 1. And I remember hearing High Hopes and David Gilmour, that vocal, and a tear, like it was, because I had waited for months, because you'd see it on MTV or you'd see in the Rolling Stone or whatever magazine, and you would count the days like Christmas morning. Oh yeah. Until that came out. And that happened to me with Billy Joel, a lot of Billy Joel's albums. There are always those artists where I don't care how much it was, whatever, I'm buying that album. I don't even have to hear any of the singles. There were those artists for me, like Sting was that way for me, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, Bruce Hornsby, a lot of other bands, of course, Pink Floyd, that kind of thing.
But you had to think about that $18 because that's a lot of money.
Oh my God. It's still a lot of money. Okay, so you're wearing a Billy Joel t-shirt.
Yeah.
Why this particular album, The Nylon Curtain?
Oh, to me, this is the ultimate manifestation of the baby boom era, the Nylon Curtain. Billy Joel wanted the album cover to look like a novel from the 80s. It's got the houses that are exactly like Levittown where he grew up, cookie cutter houses. It's kind of the story of the baby boom era, 60s, 70s, Vietnam. He talks about unemployment, Allentown. I think Billy Joel's my favorite because it was the first artist I listened to as a kid where I recognized that, oh, that's the guy that sings this song, that sings this song, that sings this song. So I heard My Life, and then I heard Big Shot, and I'm like, that's the same guy singing those two songs. And then Glass Houses, came out. And for some reason, this album just hit me at a certain time. And I love all the non-singles, like Surprises is a song that's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Where's the Orchestra? Laura, which is a song, and he wanted this to sound like a mid-period Beatles album. And it does. I mean, if you go listen to this album, he's got McCartney-esque songs, he's got John Lennon-esque songs, and he even has the George Harrison guitar in Laura. And you can hear, and he gets it. And it was about the time that John Lennon was assassinated that he was writing this. And so it's Billy Joel's Pet Sounds to me. And it's just the lyrics are intricate, the stories that he tells. We both did a video on the New York Times thing, the list of the songwriters. We both talked about Billy Joel. Billy Joel's my favorite of all time, as you know. And the thing he never gets credit for, to me, is his lyrics. I think he's an exceptional lyricist. And he's a great singer. And he's always...
amazing singer.
He is. And he always kind of downplays his voice. I'm pretty good. I've seen him in interviews.
Singer.
And I'm like, you're an incredible singer.
Yes.
An interpreter of those lyrics. And, I mean, you think about She's Always a Woman, the lyrics, those are incredible lyrics. She can't be convicted, she's earned her degree, I mean, just little lines like that. He's just such an incredible lyricist. I just don't think he gets the credit. I've said this before, and I love Springsteen and Billy Joel, but I think if you were to take Allentown and Born in the USA, which is about a year that divides them.
Yeah.
And if you were to swap them, and the critics knew that the Bruce Springsteen was the one that wrote Allentown, and Billy Joel wrote Born in the USA, the critics would have said Allentown is the classic. Born in the USA.
So you're saying that there's a bias towards Springsteen by the critics.
Exactly. I think that Bruce gets the credit, and he should. But I think that Billy was writing some of the best music of the 70s and 80s.
Let me ask you a Billy Joel countdown. Give me the top 5 Billy Joel records in order.
Okay, so let me think about it, because I would go 1 to 5 in my mind.
Okay, let's go 1 to 5.
Okay, so my number 1 is Nylon Curtain, no question, the Nylon Curtain. My number 2 would be The Stranger, because it's got my favorite song of all time, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant.
Yep.
And then I think I would go with An Innocent Man. And that one because that was one of the first albums I bought with my own money.
Okay.
And I just love that period, when you're a kid and you're nostalgic for when you first heard those songs. Yeah. And a lot of people downplay like a song like Uptown Girl. They don't realize that that's a tribute to Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Mm-hmm. And it's a perfect tribute to that. But as a standalone song, and without that context, it doesn't mean as much, in my opinion. So I go Innocent Man, then I would go 52nd Street as my 4th. And then one that you talked about today would be Turnstiles at number 5.
Yes, great album.
I've Loved These Days from that album as a great track. Summer Highland Falls.
That is one of my favorite Billy Joel songs.
I mean, again,
that's
one of the greatest lyricists of his time.
That is the piano part on that. Like everything about that song is beautiful.
They say that these are not the best of times, but they're the only times I've ever known.
Yes, his vocal performance on there is phenomenal.
It's so good. Yeah. I'm getting chills just talking about it. That's why I love talking music. You get it, man.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. And even like a song like James that he wrote for his friend on that album is good. It's just and Miami 2017, Seen the Lights Go Out on Broadway. Mm-hmm. Great song. And I love the ending of it. Because he is back in the 70s and Gerald Ford tells New York to drop dead. and there was all these problems.
That's right.
And he's writing from the perspective of
man.
living in Florida, which he does. He has a home in Florida.
Yeah.
Looking back at those times, telling his kids this sci-fi story about, I remember how it was, you know, and the Yankee, he's given all the cool things about, you know, those nights were bright on Broadway, but that was a long time ago, before we all lived here in Florida, before the mafia took over Mexico. I mean, again, phenomenal lyrics. I can't say enough.
Okay, so who are some bands or records that critics hate that are amazing albums?
Boston,
First
the
record.
first record, the
Yeah.
self-titled Boston, and I think you'll agree with me. Every song is
Every
incredible.
song's amazing. I would say that, real honestly, Don't Look Back, which came out, the second record, is
It's great.
an incredible record.
It is.
Doesn't sound quite as good.
No, and I think his Tom Scholz was rushed,
rushing.
right?
That's
And-
right.
And he never wanted to make a record like that again. But
Yeah.
here's how incredible Boston is, right? They release this album, and then he's in this lawsuit with the record label, and another album doesn't come out till 1986,
Yeah.
1978 to 1986. Could you get away with being a band that young and going that long without putting out an album and they go straight to number one?
No. Give me some other bands that critics don't like.
Journey.
Records. Journey.
Right? Styx, Foreigner.
Yep.
The big 4 or 5, right? The AOR bands, they put that.
They don't like any AOR music.
No. Toto.
Toto.
Right? REO Speedwagon. But then they love bands that came out. I remember when Rolling Stone was really pushing the Hothouse Flowers. Bands like that, right? Not that there's anything wrong, but
Yeah.
what lasts? I mean, the test of time is the greatest test to me, right? And Boston's self-titled, everybody loves
Why
it.
don't critics like them? Why don't critics like these bands? What is it about them?
They call them corporate rock, right?
Right, but what is it that they don't like?
I've always thought that they didn't like it because when they say corporate rock, they're trying to say it's cookie cutter. Everybody likes it. The brainless kids, which I guess I was one of.
I must have been one too.
The brainless kids.
Now, the critics love the Beatles,
Yeah.
and the Beatles were the most popular band
Yeah.
of all time. What was it about the Beatles that they liked?
I made a video a few weeks ago about top 10 horrible takes by critics, and my number one is the Beatles. People who say they hate the Beatles. And I just said, my dad always said, you can't trust a man that doesn't love the Beatles. He told me that. He said, Adam,
Hear, hear.
never trust a person that doesn't like the Beatles.
Right.
It became cool recently to say, well, the Beatles suck, or the Beatles are overrated. Like, how many times have you heard, you know, these kids say that, and you're like, how can a band be overrated that started everything?
Right.
I mean, you know this because you've done as many interviews as I have, but I ask a question that I've asked from the very beginning that I started doing interviews. I always wanted to bookend my interviews with the same question. And my first question has always been, what was the moment that kicked open the door to your mind and made you pursue music like there was no plan B, you knew you had to do it? 85% of people I've interviewed, and I've done over 800 interviews, they say the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. How can you argue with that? The only
Right.
people that haven't is like they say Elvis because maybe they were before the Beatles. Like Fogerty said Elvis, and like Roger McGuinn said Elvis because he's, you know.
Because they're of that age.
Exactly. But even Roger McGuinn's like, when the Beatles put out Rubber Soul, we were like, I don't even know if I can do this anymore.
Right.
Like, how are we ever going to top that? Like, some of my favorite things to do is to talk to 60s artists and ask them about the friendly competition that existed between Beatles, the Beach Boys, the Byrds, the Stones, and just to get that reaction. Like, it was so cool to hear Eric Burden say from the Animals, and I said, what about the Beach Boys? You're like, oh, Brian Wilson, Good Vibrations. And he starts singing it, and you
Yeah.
get to see the judge like, amazing, amazing. I'm like, I love that.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. You don't have that camaraderie as much anymore. But people knew, like, I remember Lamont Dozier told me, he said, when I heard She Loves You, Yeah, 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 I was like, yeah, I think we can compete with this. But he said, when I heard Michelle on Rubber Soul, I was like, we gotta go back to the drawing board. And I called the Holland brothers, I'm like, we gotta get going. How cool is it that competition existed
Yes.
where they were like, we got to take music to the next level. I mean, Brian Wilson hears Rubber Soul, and he's like, that's where Pet Sounds came from. Without him hearing Rubber Soul, I don't think you have Pet Sounds.
And then the Beatles hear Pet Sounds.
And they do Revolver and Sgt. Pepper. And they're in that race, right?
That's right.
Sgt. Pepper and Smile.
Do you think that the fact that these artists in that time period put out a lot of records in a short period of time was actually a good thing? It's almost like working out a lot, and they got so good at writing and they stayed at that level because they were always working on their craft. Do you think there's something to that? As opposed to once you get to the 80s or 90s and people would take off a couple years between records and they would tour and do things and they kind of get out of the habit of writing. I mean, the Beatles stopped touring and only were a studio band.
Yeah. And the Beach Boys did that too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Brian did that.
Yeah.
The Beach Boys were still touring, but he was at home creating things. That's a great question. You and I both had the distinct opportunity to interview John Fogerty. Mm-hmm. And that's a perfect example of somebody who, in 2 years, I mean, you go January 1968 to January 1970, he wrote 14 top 10
that's right.
hits.
I know, it's unbelievable.
Songs we all still listen to.
Yeah, that's right.
Classic songs, right? And that's not even counting some of the other great tracks that he did after that. Like, what was CCR thinking? Trying to stop John Fogerty?
Right.
Let him go. Let him. I mean, he was doing things that he had a run that only the Beatles, the Bee Gees, and Elvis have had in that 2 years.
Yeah, there was a time period in the 80s that Phil Collins just had hit after hit after hit.
The guy could write in his sleep.
I forget who I was interviewing that was working with him, and I said, every time he brought in a song, it was like, oh my God, this is another hit again? Like everything he did.
I know. The trivia question I ask people all the time, who had the most hits in the 80s? And they're like, oh, Michael Jackson. No. Madonna. No. They'll get close. Daryl Hall and John Oates. Close. Phil Collins.
Right.
He's the only person besides Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney who've sold 100 million records with his band and solo. And speaking of the critics, right? When he took over Genesis and they started going more pop-oriented and writing these incredible songs, people said, oh, Genesis has lost their touch.
Well, when he took over Trick of the Tail in 76, that's, to me, one of the best records of the 70s.
For sure.
Think. That's a phenomenal record. You asked me a trivia question today, which I actually knew the answer at. And what was the question?
Who's the only artist or band to sell almost 100 million records that never gave a live concert, never toured, never gave a live concert? And
it took me just a second to think of it.
You got it.
It's Enya.
Yeah, it's Enya. She's never actually, if you go to Last FM, where it's got all the set lists, right? Setlist.fm, and you look her up, she has TV appearances. She's done like, one or two songs on a TV. I think she played a festival where she played like one or two songs. But I don't think she can recreate all those sounds and she didn't want to use synthesized and all that kind of stuff. So she just lives in her castle and makes a lot of money.
Must be nice.
I like Enya's stuff. I think she's great.
Tell me a concert that you went to that really blew you away.
So the first thing that comes to my mind is, it's a sentimental for me, is James Taylor.
Okay.
It was my first date with my wife. It was in 2005, summer of 2005.
And where did he play?
He just played USANA here in Utah. It's like a big outdoor amphitheater. James Taylor, his thing about James Taylor, his voice never ages.
No.
He sounds exactly how he sounded in the 70s and the late 60s when he started. And he's just got such a smooth and easy delivery, and his songs are so perfect, and they're just easy to fall in love to. And so it was just a perfect night, and he played some of my favorite. He played some deep tracks and everything. So that was my sentimental answer. But my answer recently would be Foo Fighters.
Okay.
I was up against the rail at Foo Fighters, and I'd never seen them live. And this was a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And Dave Grohl is the most incredible frontman that is doing it right now, in my opinion. And I know there's a lot of haters out there, and I don't get it. It's like the Beatles. See, I don't get it. Like, I'm going to say something that is a hot take.
Okay.
And I'm sure I got crap for it when I said it on my channel. I think the Foo Fighters are better than Nirvana.
I'm not going to agree with you on that.
I like their music better. I love Nirvana. But for some reason, I don't know. Probably just Everlong. Because to me, that is such a perfect song. And the emotions and yeah, I know, that's a hot take, but it's just...
Well, Nirvana's one of my favorite bands.
I know. I said it was a hot take, but And I'm sure there'll be people in the car, what does this guy know about music? He's saying that, you know. But I love Dave Grohl as a front man. I don't think there's many that are doing it right now that can come close. He's just the passion he has, and he was doing Times Like These, and he was talking about Taylor, and he was singing it, and the emotion that he had. You know, he's like, he went like this, and the whole crowd just started singing. It was a magical moment. And he's like, it's times like these we learn, and he couldn't finish the line because he was, you know, his heart was in his throat. And everybody there was like, it was just an incredible experience. And you don't see a front man running around the stage like, he's a wild man. I mean, that much energy. And
well, he also happens to be the best drummer of the last generation.
I agree.
He's the best rock drummer.
And the way he drums, he brings that same passion to his singing, to everything that he does. So I love him. I think he's incredible. When you see somebody give their heart and soul like that on the stage, you just don't see that as often anymore. And it's a magical thing, you know.
You're an incredibly recognizable guy. You got recognized at dinner last night, and
you did too. Wow. Before we're walking over to dinner, and he gets recognized in the hotel lobby. Rick, and you know, this guy comes up, he's pouring out his heart. Your interview with Billy Corgan, I'm assuming, was amazing and everything. Then we go over to dinner, and we sit down, and this lady comes up. Excuse me, I'm sorry to bother you. Are you the Professor Rock?
Right.
It's funny, I was in a restaurant.
How could she not recognize? Of course you are.
Well, I think she was maybe seeing the side of me or whatever. I was wearing a hat, but...
You're the most recognizable person. It's like, you know...
You too,
I think she did that just to be polite.
Yeah. It was funny. A couple of weeks ago, I was just sitting in my small town having dinner with my wife, and I was wearing a baseball cap, and you know, and I think I had some different glasses on, not my. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and this lady walks up, and she goes, "Talk for me again," and I go, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Are you the Professor of Rock?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "You live in Manti?" That was the funny part. She's like, "What? I thought you lived in like L.A. or." It's the YouTube thing is weird because to me, I'm a guy making a video in my garage.
Well,
you know?
The funny thing, like I was the grocery store near our house. It's like a 90-second drive or so.
Yeah.
I was in there probably about 2 years ago now, and with my son Dylan, we're standing there getting ready in self-checkout, and this guy comes up. He's like, "Rick, we met. I'm James Hetfield's guitar tech." And I was like, "Oh yeah, what's up, man?" And we start talking, and I finished checking out. We're leaving the store, and my son Dylan's like, "What's James Hetfield's guitar tech doing at our grocery store?" And I was like, "You got to live somewhere."
Yeah.
Probably lives right down the street from us. And we didn't even know that. But it was just very random, right?
Totally.
You know,
it's funny.
It's like you have to live somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah. I was walking in the airport like about 6 months ago. And this lady's like, "Hey." And I'm like, "Hey." You know, sometimes you forget things. And,
sure.
And she's like, "Can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "Do I know you?" And I'm trying to place this face like, is this somebody I know? She's like, "Well, I watch you every single day." And I go, "What do you, you know, just didn't," and I'm like, "Sure." She gives me this hug, and I'm like, yeah, it was just funny. I'm like, "Hey," you know, it's just.
I do have some occasional people be like, "I know you."
Yeah, right?
It's like,
where do I know you from? Have we met? And then, I've got this YouTube. Oh, that's what, yeah, that's funny.
So you've been doing this 6 years. You've done how many videos, Adam?
I think it's like 1,400 or something.
What do you do differently than you did when you started?
Well, I used to do videos just on one song. Okay. I do like a 20-minute video, 20 to 23-minute video on one song. And I would tell the story of how they created the song. If I had the interview, I would put the interview clip in, but I'd also have an intro, and then I would talk about how it's been used in pop culture and its impact, kind of put it in the context of our culture. And then I started doing these top 10s, and I really enjoyed that. And that was more of kind of a tip of the hat to Casey Kasem. because there's not really those countdown shows anymore. I mean, the American Top 40 exists, but does it mean anything? You know,
I don't think it does.
I don't think it does. Like, nobody listens to it like they used to.
Well, all the songs are delivered via algorithms to people.
Yeah.
So people don't have, there's no kind of agreed upon songs that are hits.
This week, Drake's got 12 songs in the top 20. You're like, I don't know. You know, like, again, I don't ever like to diss music because if a song touches somebody's heart, and I've learned that because I've done these lists like the worst songs of all time, and like when bad artists write or great artists write bad songs. I think I did like Paul McCartney, Wonderful Christmas Time, and I had like 100 comments of people saying, that's my favorite Christmas song. Like, how are you? This is my childhood. This is my... So I get that, like, because there's a lot of songs that I love that I'm sure people are like, why do you like Waiting for a Star to Fall by Boy Meets Girl? I don't know. It's just a great pop song, and it brings nostalgic pangs, you know, that kind of thing. But for me, like, a top 40 now with overproduced pop, and the thing I always struggle with is and the enhanced vocals and the pitch correction software that they're using and auto-tune. Like, why would you ever use auto-tune? The reason that we want to hear all these, I mean, you listen to We Are the World, and the reason, it's not a great song, let's be honest. I mean, if you're picking apart the song, that, you know, it's not Everlong, you know, but the reason it's so great is because you have so many diverse voices. You got Tina Turner, goes to Billy Joel, goes to Michael Jackson, Daryl Hall, Kenny Loggins, Steve Perry, Huey Lewis, Diana Ross, I mean, Stevie Wonder. You're hearing all these incredible, and they just all sound different and distinct. Would you ever put an auto-tune on that?
Right.
It would ruin it. That's why we love it. And by the way, We Are the World, we got to talk about this for a second, because I got to get your take. When I was a kid, that was like Christmas morning. Because like Steve Perry, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, like my favorite artists of all time, are like all singing on the same song. And you know, I love Stevie Wonder. And you hear these voices and you're thinking, but now you listen to them, and there's been an Instagram reel going around about We Are the World. It's kind of unfair because it shows Huey Lewis got pulled into We Are the World. He wasn't supposed to sing a vocal line, right? It was Prince was supposed to show up. There was a place for Prince, and Prince didn't show up because the whole Michael Jackson thing that was going on. So at the last second, Kenny Loggins suggested to Michael and Quincy, and this is firsthand from Kenny telling it, and different people that I've talked to. I always ask the We Are the World question. If I talk to somebody, I have to get that in there. But he says, who should we get? And he's like, Huey Lewis. Kenny's like, you should get Huey Lewis because, you know, Sports is a great album. It's tearing up the charts right now, and he's got a great voice. So Michael pulls him in, and he sings that vocal line. Well, that's the first time he ever sang it.
Right.
He didn't know what he's singing, and he doesn't sound perfect because he's just trying to get a feel for where it is. And you see Michael, and he's kind of going like this. And I don't know if Michael's reacting to that, but people are saying, look how perfect Michael is versus Huey. But then you hear Huey's final vocal, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
Right? But everybody talks, and Michael Jackson's perfect on the song. But you know who's more perfect? Steve Perry.
Oh, yeah.
He walks up, opens his mouth, and it's perfection. Like, I just don't even understand, like, how Steve Perry at his peak.
Oh, my God. Forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's my favorite all-time singer. Just personally, I think he's the greatest rock singer. If you just take just pure voice, Brad Delp, if you took just one album, it might be a tie for me because Brad Delp was so great on that first one. But anyway.
If I were to ask you, what do you think is the best video that you on your channel?
So, I mean, Brian Wilson, because he's my all-time hero. And the fact that I was interviewing him, it was a pinch me moment. And it was like a 35-minute interview. And at the time, he was only doing like a few minutes. They'd say he might walk out.
Yeah.
And we got to talk about Pet Sounds and Smile. And it was a really neat moment. Another one was Sting. And you interviewed Sting too. But we had a moment where we were both talking about our dads. And, you know, my dad was a painting contractor, blue-collar guy. And that job eventually did take his life because he breathing in the fumes day in and day out. And he ended up having a stroke. And And he passed away at 64, you know.
That's how old I am right now.
Yeah. You're a lot healthier than he was. He got, especially at the end, he fell off a ladder about 7 years before he passed away, and it really messed up his body, and he kept working. But it was a really neat moment with Sting, because Sting was talking about his dad as a shipbuilder. And it was just cool that this musician, and you get this musician that you've grown up loving, and hearing that music that impacted my life from when I was a little kid hearing the Police all the way up to his solo stuff. And I like his solo stuff just as much as I love the Police.
Agreed.
You know, even like Something the Boys Said, a song like that is an album track. It's such a great song. And so we're having this moment where it's a correlation between us, and Sting says, yeah, you know, I understand, you know, our dads had to live tough lives, had to work hard, and so that, you know, we could be musicians and interviewers and shit. It was just cool connection to have, talk to one of my favorite musicians ever, and have that connection of our dads. And I was able to tribute my dad, and he was able to tribute his dad. And the things he said about his dad, he said, you know, my dad comes every night, and he's with me. And he said, you know, when you talk about the lyrics, I don't think of it the same way you do, because if I think of the meaning of the lyrics, I can't sing because I get caught here.
Right. Okay.
And so it was just a really cool moment. So,
what do you hope your legacy is from this? Do you think about that ever?
The only thing I've ever thought about that in terms of legacy, twofold. I share the town that I grew up in. It's the backbone of my life, this little town in Idaho. And my dad, the relationship I had with my dad, because we were like this growing up, but music and baseball, especially music, is what connected us. And I get to keep his legacy alive. And my dad was one of these people that I think he could have done what I do better. Mm-hmm. He could walk into a store, a little grocery store, and he could talk to anybody. And he was beloved. People loved him because he was such a down-to-earth guy. And he had empathy for people. He understood their backgrounds. And he's one of those guys that's like the Billy Joel song, Piano Man. He could have been a movie star if I could only get out of this place. He talks about John at the bar as a friend of mine, gives me my drinks for free. It's quick with a joke or a light of your smoke. But there's some place that he'd rather be. I always felt that my dad didn't get to his potential. He could have been a great comedian. He just was the life of the party. People loved him, and he was so good with people. I think he would have been a great interviewer. Mm-hmm. That's where I got the passion for music. You know, and he didn't play an instrument. He couldn't really even carry a tune. But he was always, all right, giving me trivia and quizzing me. So I love my dad so much, and I wish I could have had a little bit more time with him, because at the end, we really had this moment of forgiveness. Because we had some rough times, but for the last 10 years of his life, we were so close. And then he was just gone. And he saw a little bit of my career taken off, like, not just taken off, I'm not bragging or anything, I'm just saying he got to see some of the things I did. I got to take him to meet a couple of his heroes. Like, he loved the Animals, it was one of his favorite bands. He got to meet Eric Burdon. He got to meet America. I took him on some things, got to meet Kenny Loggins. And Kenny's like, no, you're the one that gave Adam all these albums. And my dad's like, yeah. And it was cool that he gave a little bit of credit to my dad on some things. So I get to keep his legacy alive. But even greater than that, the stories that he raised me on, like he raised me on the Beatles and CCR and Motown mostly. Those are the big three. And then Crosby, Stills and Nash and a lot of that music. And I think that the music of the 50s and 60s, and I hate to say this, but it's being forgotten in a lot of ways. Well, that was a moment to have that go out.
I like that. We'll leave that in.
You know what I mean, though? Like, the 50s and 60s are so important. The pioneers, Chuck Berry, Little Richard.
Well, all the greats were influenced by those.
Yeah. And Motown.
That's right.
Motown, right? Like, Lamont Dozier's gone.
But without Little Richard, for example, are there rock singers that...
No.
Like, without all the people that imitated him?
I mean, go back and watch Little Richard do Long Tall Sally, and you're like, holy crap, he's incredible.
Right.
You know, like Traveling Band, I mean, John Fogerty was definitely a tip of the hat and like all those great songs. But I hope that, because I got doing it a little bit earlier, We were talking about this today.
Yeah.
You're saying you got a lot of the 60s guys, and I got some of the 50s, the guys
Yeah.
from the 50s.
Yeah.
Like Neil Sedaka passed away 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, and so to me, and I think it's wonderful what you're doing, you're getting the definitive interview, I feel. And I can say that's for sure. I mean, you watch your David Gilmour, that's a definitive interview. That's why a lot of these guys, you need to interview with him, and then if you have another interview, do it with me, because we really are capturing that legacy. And you need to have, because that's what matters. The songs are going to last. And these guys that have had, like, read these old interviews of the Beatles, and they ask, what's your favorite color? And you're like, you had the Beatles and you didn't ask them about Rubber Soul or ask them about, Tomorrow Never Knows? Like, how did you, like the things that you ask, the very technical questions that we want to know. We want to know how you put these together.
It's funny that there's the people that I want to interview, some of the people like Paul McCartney, for example. And I'll joke, I'll be like, yeah, he's on the What's Your Favorite Color interview circuit right now.
It's so
That's pretty much the only one that he does is What's Your Favorite Color. Although I did see him say something, he did tell the story in something recently that was that I'd never heard before, but that's, he doesn't really, he for the most part gets asked the same things. And
yeah.
And then,
has anybody really ever asked him about Wings? We were talking about that yesterday.
Oh, was he in another band?
Yeah, right.
Let me ask you this: do you think of yourself as an outgoing person? Do you think that people think of you as that?
I've never given that thought, to be honest with you. I think if I know somebody, I could seem outgoing. Like my dad was that way. Like I said, you could walk into a store and just talk to anybody.
Yeah. But that's not you?
I don't think so. I think that, I think I've come out of my shell more that way. My wife is very much like that. She was voted most friendly in high school. Yeah. And so ever since I married her, and we've been married for, almost 21 years, I think I've come out of my shell in that way. But, that's a good question, man. I've never thought of that.
Well, I always tell my kids that I'm not outgoing, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" Yes, you are outgoing. I said, "No, I'm actually not outgoing. I'm the fourth most outgoing person out of my 7 siblings. Or I'm not even close to being the most outgoing. When we get together, I'm the one I just kind of sit there and take my place in in the order of kids. And if I walk into a room full of people, I observe. I sit back and I listen. Just like when I'm interviewing someone, I listen to what they say.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious as to when I ask them a question, I actually want to know the answer, as opposed to, well, how am I going to jump in and talk about myself next?
Right. Or how am I going to ask a question that's going to give me a viral clip, right? Thing about you, though, Rick, that I've always felt ever since the first time I talked to you is you're such a warm person. Like you instantly feel comfortable. That's why you're such a great interviewer, is because you can feel that warmth. You can feel that care, that you care. And that's what I hope that can change. To me, I feel like it's such a gift.
Absolutely.
To be able to do what we do. I mean, what a gift. I mean, you and I are two of the luckiest guys in the world.
No question.
We work very hard, we care, but to have that opportunity, well, blessed. I hate to say lucky because I think blessed because I need to give credit and the gratitude of that. But we've been able to do, I told you this today, like if I never do another interview and never do another thing, I'm so grateful for the opportunities I've had to be able to sit down with Roger McGuinn and he's playing turn on his 12-string in front of me. And I'm like, this will never get old. I will never take this for granted, And I mean, to go to David Gilmour's studio and to, just to be a fly on the wall. I mean, like I said, I've never been jealous of any interview you've ever done. That was the one I was like, oh, Brick. No, I was so happy for her. When I see you interviewing like Rush and like you just did your interviews with all the individual members of Rush, I'm so happy because I'm like, we need great interviews. We need to be able to have this history. And kind of going back to that question you asked, is that's the biggest legacy is the 50s and 60s. I don't get a lot of comments like this, but I probably see at least a dozen a week of young people who will say, my dad told me about your channel and I just listened to the Byrds, or I listened to this album, this Little Richard song, and I was blown away. Thank you so much for introducing me to the song. That's the greatest thing that I could ever leave. Not me, but just the music, just to point somebody in that direction of these are great songs, and have somebody come back and say, I never knew about this song. Thank you so much. Like that's the ultimate.
Adam, you're the man.
You're the man.
I appreciate this. This is so great. Great to hang with you and meet you in person.
It's
feel like I've known you for 20 years.
Same here. I know. It's been a gift to know you, Rick. It really has. You helped me so much last year. What I love is just shooting the crap with you. I mean, we have so much fun talking about music. And I'll say this about you to end. Not only you're a great interviewer and a great person, I totally get why you're so beloved. And you are beloved. Like, you are. I can tell you. Like, but I love that you are such a, and I'll say it, I think a genius in music, in how you play, how you quantify it, how you talk about it. But you're not a snob. There's so many people that are at that level that can play so well and understand the whole picture, because you love classical. I mean, you jazz, you have such a knowledge, because mine is really rock, pop, and soul. A little bit of jazz, but I don't have that same, all those tools. But you appreciate all of it. And I just love that, because I'll meet somebody who is really, really knowledgeable and is a great musician, but they've got that snob thing, right? Oh, Boston, Journey, And I just love that you appreciate that. Like, and we need that, because the test of time is this. 50 years later, 100 years later, Journey is still being listened to. I'm going to say something that'll get me in trouble here, but 100 years from now, more people will be listening to Journey than the Velvet Underground. I'm sorry, it's true. They will.
That's the case right now.
It is. It is. Don't Stop Believing. One of the biggest songs of all time.
That's
and
right.
Boston, the same thing. I just think that music, like Mutt Lange, right? He was so painstaking. I mean, the Cars broke up because he made him restring, the bass after every take, after playing just a few notes. But those records, Def Leppard, Hysteria, the Cars, Heartbeat City, stand the test of time. Perfection.
Absolutely.
So, Steely Dan. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Adam.
it, Rick.
Appreciate it.
We'll do it many times.
Absolutely.
We will.
Come to Atlanta.
Oh, I will. I'm definitely coming to your studio.
Cool.
Yeah. Love you, brother.
You too.
All right.
Thanks.